Mike O'Mara, Radio Entertainment.
Hicks, Nicks, Sticks, Picks, a podcast about Robb's movies with your hosts, Robb Spewak and Josh Sroka. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let the show begin.
Spooky season, Josh.
It is. And back in black and white.
And I love being back in black and white.
I think you're more comfortable in black and white.
I think also, I think my wardrobe lends it to it and my makeup. Hi, I'm Robb Spewak.
No need for that spray on tan when we go black and white.
No. And I need you to ID yourself, though.
I'm Josh.
Oh, thank you.
Was I supposed to say that?
Yeah, but I identify myself clearly. Let's do that.
I assume people know.
Hi, I'm Robb Spewak.
And I am, you'll find out who I am later on.
Oh, you're making it a mystery.
I am Josh Soroka.
That was very spooky of you.
Well, I like to think maybe you have to listen 5 or 6 weeks to figure out who we are.
Well, I just don't want people confusing us because don't need that kind of reputation that you're watching all these horrible films and recommending them.
Well, I had a little bit of that watching today's film.
Oh, I look forward to talking about it because I watched it last night for the umpteenth time and it was marvelous. But before we move forward, today's movie, it's the 6th movie we've done on Hicks Nicks, and I think we can safely call it that now.
Yes.
It's Abbott and Costello, or as it says on the title card, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello meet Frankenstein. Now, before we get into the movie at all, I have to ask you, what is your knowledge base of Abbott and Costello?
I know the Who's on First routine. I know that really well. As a kid growing up loving baseball, I had it on a CD that would play. And I remember there was some anniversary, and I think it was Jerry Seinfeld redid it with someone.
Yeah.
And so I'm very familiar with the Who's on First routine, but that's all so I know Abbott and Costello as the Who's on First guys. I never knew who was Abbott and who was Costello.
Okay. For people that are just joining us and do not know this, here is a small clip of the Who's on First routine. This is the version from the movie that they use at the Baseball Hall of Fame, okay?
You know the fellow's names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
So that's essentially that routine.
It's a great routine. I don't get old of it.
It's one of the greatest, and I think my theory on it is it's well written. It's a great routine on itself, but they are the best at performing it because of their characterizations. And also Bud Abbott, the straight man, the tall, thin one, not the short, fat one, he was known all around Hollywood as like the best straight man you could get. Very, very well regarded. And actually straight men were more in demand than comics. There was a lot of comics, but if you could find a good straight man, it was very important. And he sets the tempo of that whole bit. And that allows Lou Costello to react. And I think that's why that's so funny. And I think also that's why some of the jokes work in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's because of their timing, and it's very precise. So let's go to a quick synopsis of the plot. Josh, feel free to interrupt at any time. And if you were wondering if I actually have the soundtrack album of the music from Abbott.
No one's asking. We know the answer.
Yes, I know.
Of course you have it. How many copies of the movie do you have?
Well, I upgraded to Blu-ray, so I had to get rid of the original DVD, and then I have it in another set. But that's for another time.
So 2.
Yes.
2 currently.
Yeah, but I've had 3 through my life. This is 1948 from Universal International. It's an hour 23. It stars Bud Abbott, Lou Costello, Lon Chaney Jr., Bela Lugosi, Glenn Strange, Lenore Aubert, Jane Randolph, and Frank Ferguson. It was directed by a favorite of Abbott and Costello, Charles T. Barton. They didn't want to make the movie originally, and they didn't realize this was going to set the template really for the rest of their career. So to get them to do it, they paid them very well, but they also brought in their favorite director, Charles Barton. It was sort of
it has that feel and setup that I can see of like more of a commercial than a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, let's market all these monsters.
And, this is 1948, and they weren't really thinking that way then, but I can see your point. Music, which we're listening to now, Frank Skinner, and makeup by Bud Westmore, who was a student of the great Jack Pierce, who we can talk about in a little bit. But before we start, I know I'm going to make a mistake here. So you mentioned that the name of the movie is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yes.
Frankenstein is not in the movie.
Right.
His diary is, but he is not in the movie, so no one meets him.
And the entire time, they do a great job of constantly referring to it as Frankenstein's monster.
Exactly.
Except for this title.
So the title is wrong. I'm going to say this. I feel a little awkward calling it The Monster. So I'm asking the listeners to extend me the courtesy to allow me to call him Frankenstein in this review, even though I know he's Frankenstein's monster. And Dracula is, of course, Dracula. And Larry Talbot is the Wolfman. Now, if you doubt my love for the Universal monsters, this dates back to when I was seriously 5 years old, Josh. This is a rubber Frankenstein toy that I've had for nearly 50 years. And as you can see, he's missing
to the other arm?
He's missing. I mean, I don't think many people were meant to keep these dime toys for 50 years.
Yeah, it looks like something out of a cereal box.
But it does. But he's been with me the whole time. Frankenstein was a big deal to me, or the monster, when I was growing up. So the movie opens up with the familiar Universal globe. It's black and white, a great animated opening sequence. I loved it. And that was done by Walter Lantz, who animated Woody Woodpecker. That was Universal's strongest offering to animation. Woody Woodpecker, not great cartoons. I'm sorry.
I enjoyed them as a child.
Okay, very good.
I'm not going to complain.
All right. We begin in London, where a very tense Larry Talbot, who is Lon Chaney Jr., is trying to get a call through to the La Mirada, Florida Express office. Do you live near La Mirada?
I don't think so.
Is it a real place?
I don't. La Mirada. I mean, it sounds like a real place.
It does. But also, it would be, if it is, it's like the center of horror in the United States, because a lot of stuff goes down in La Mirada. But there's no such place.
Not. There's an Almirada.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that could just
and
be
that
just
is not too far from me.
All right. So at the Express office, we meet Chick and Wilbur, who are Bud and Lou, Abbott and Costello, who appear to be lousy baggage handlers. We get some great slapstick in that sequence there. And Dr. Mornay, Sandra Mornay, enters and seems very concerned about Wilbur's head. And Chick can't understand why such a knockout would be into Wilbur. It's, he's the short, fat guy. And
it's an ongoing theme.
It is. And then finally, Talbot gets through to the Express office, the Larry Talbot calling from London. And he says, you've got to stop a delivery to the McDougal House of Horrors. But before he can explain why it's important, we get a classic Wolfman transformation.
Mr. McDougal, will you stop gargling your throat?
Oh, I love it.
It's great because it's stop motion.
Yeah.
On a person.
And granted, the effect of the stop motion transformation is a little primitive, but I think it's handled exceptionally well. They do a really nice job with it. And I know for a fact that later on, when Universal went to the well many times for the Wolfman property, they would use the transformation cuts in the movie so they wouldn't have to redo them.
Oh, that's smart. It's a pain.
It is a tremendous pain. And I think we get 2 full ones in this movie, maybe 3. But what I was going to tell you about Bud Westmore, the makeup guy on this movie, he was, of course, tasked to make the monsters look like how they did when they debuted some 10, 15 years earlier. The guy that designed the makeup, Jack Pierce, did all of the makeup with like cotton and building up makeup, like physically building up the stuff. He didn't use any prosthetics or anything.
Right,
now,
no rubber mask.
Exactly. Now, Bud Westmore did start using some rubber stuff. It's really obvious in Frankenstein's head, but he did really honor the original look of the characters, and I think they do look perfectly like, the Universal monster characters, even though that has changed. By the way, Universal loses the copyright on the Frankenstein and all those makeups in like the next 10 years. So pretty soon anyone can do it. But if you go even as far back as like the show The Munsters, that's a Universal property because they owned that look of Fred.
Okay, they own the
Frankenstein.
A little bit more plasticky.
Yeah,
in this movie.
Yeah, but still, it's not as plasticky as my toy. So Wilbur does not care for the House of Horrors, but McDougal comes in and has them deliver the crates there. And he says, these are going to scare everybody. It looks like a wax museum or something you'd see at something like in Myrtle Beach. And he says, I've got the remains.
We've got it right here. It's called Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Okay, very good.
That's what this is. It's the same type of place.
Well, they have a Ripley's in Myrtle Beach, so I wasn't far off, but I understand that. I know I've been to those, and it's exactly what it is.
Smithsonian we're delivering
exactly.
them to.
So the boxes he claims that he bought from Europe, and they contain the remains of Dracula and the Frankenstein monster. Now, Wilbur hates this, and they have to go into a darkened House of Horrors because a fuse blew and unpack the monsters. This is the first time we get to see Lou Costello doing his great being scared acting. He's the best at it. And he also does his moving candle routine, which every time they're in a scary situation, somehow a candle moves. But here he is, I think, reading about the Curse of Dracula.
What's the matter now? You know that person you said that there's no such person?
Yes.
I think he's in there, in person. I was reading a sign over here, this one down here, Dracula's Legend. All of a sudden I heard...
That's the wind.
It should get oiled.
Listen, stop reading this thing. That's a lot of phony baloney to fool McDougal's customers. Now fold up that canvas. Get busy. Come on.
And you don't need to be a genius to know that Dracula is alive and is in his coffin. So he does rise. He hexes Wilbur for a second. That's something I don't know if they did in a lot of Dracula movies where you stare in his eyes and he like hexes you, but whether or not, he definitely does it. And then I love the fact that the monsters escape. So they're just walking in the streets of Florida. You've got this 7-foot zombie and a vampire, and they've got to get to the island. So they've got to go on a boat. So that whole plot they leave behind. That lost me a little bit. But back at the castle, which is a beautiful, beautiful matte painting, we see Dracula transform from a bat back to his personage. And he turns out to be partners with Sandra, the gal that loves Lou Costello so much. And they reveal that they're going to revive the monster to do their bidding. Meanwhile, Larry Talbot finally does show up in the States, and he asks to be locked away because there's a full moon. By the way, I don't know how many days this movie goes over into set. There's a full moon every night. I don't know. Is there not a full moon 4 or 5 nights in a row?
I don't know, because I can't tell the difference between a full moon and a almost full moon.
Well, I think if
you'll have some of those where it's almost close.
If it's an almost full moon, he only turns into a partial wolf, maybe just the hands. But he does turn into a wolf. There's a great scene where Wilbur goes in to give him his suitcase after they lock him away, and he doesn't see the Wolfman, and there's several near misses, and he steals an apple. But we see that Talbot is here. He can turn into a wolf, and he's allied himself with Bud and Lou. So the insurance company is now investigating the theft of the monsters, and we meet Joan Raymond, who is an insurance investigator. And meanwhile, they go back to Bud and Lou, and here's a good word you can use. Talbot reveals his lycanthropy, which means turning into a werewolf.
Yes.
He's a lycanthrope. So now in the evil castle, they all head over there and they find out eventually that it's going to be the House of Dracula. They find a secret underground lair because it's very suspicious, and they're not really clear that it's Dracula yet, but I loved this stuff with the secret passage. It reminded me of the secret passage a little bit in Young Frankenstein.
Where are they? They're in there. They're in there. Now listen. Wait a minute. I'm going to look around.
You go ahead.
If I don't find anybody, I'm going to beat your ears off.
I'm telling you, chick, honest.
Wait here.
Get over there. Oh, no. I ain't going near that place anymore.
And as I've said, there's no one better at acting scared than Lou Costello. Now, we go to a masquerade ball. He evades that. And one of my favorite things is that at the masquerade ball, Dracula is dressed as Dracula. Pretty good costume. And there is a werewolf attack because Talbot turns into a werewolf again. McDougal from the House of Horrors gets attacked, and Wilbur gets kidnapped and taken back to the evil castle where he's put into a stockade. And while they're in the stockade, the Wolfman comes over, but he's still Larry Talbot, and he rescues Lou Costello from the stockade and also eventually rescues him from the operating theater, which is bad when he turns back into the wolf and then chooses to fight Count Dracula. So now we have to assume that Dracula and the Wolfman are going to fight it out, and he's stuck there with Frankenstein, who rips through his straps and chases him, but not before throwing a woman out the window, which is always surprising. They chase everybody all around the castle. My favorite sight gag, maybe one of my favorites of all times, is when they're trying to fool the monster.
Get me some Dracula.
When he plays to the camera, when he pulls the tablecloth out, it's priceless.
It's fun.
So Dracula and the Wolfman fall to their death, apparently, but they keep making movies. They're safe for now. According to the useless lab assistant character, Frankie meets a fiery death, and Abbott and Costello are safe, except for the closing gag when they're in the boat with the Invisible Man. The end. Okay. The plot is not an extremely detailed plot, but coming away from it, and you just watched it, you've never seen it. What was your take on Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein? Was there anything you liked in it?
No, I'll tell you the film transfer. What's so great about these old movies is that they were shot on film.
Yeah.
So the transfer and upgrade to 4K for the Apple TV rental, it was a beautiful black and white picture. It looks so fresh and new, even though it's black and white.
And I have to say that with the exception of maybe film noir and like detective movies, the monster movies look the best in black and white. Universal knew exactly what they were doing. And this was actually, it also
speaks to the set because there's no green screen, there's no CGI.
No, they built it.
They actually built real things.
And what's wild is this was even though it was a box office blockbuster, it was a cheap film to make for Universal. Most of the money went to salaries because they owned all the props and all the castle set and everything already.
Oh, right.
Because they've been making monster movies forever. So this is sort of a low budget offering, but you're right. It is a beautiful looking film.
And the other thing I enjoyed in this is throughout it was seeing sight gags and being like, okay, well, that one Ghostbusters stole. That one Bugs Bunny stole. Mm-hmm. This one is from Scooby-Doo, has stolen that one. Yeah. So I can see the inspiration of the comedy horror.
Yeah.
And the I love how Lou is just, when he gets scared, just stiff and mumbling.
Oh, he's great.
He's great at it.
Who can, really get a laugh out of just yelling, "Oh, chick." And he says it a dozen times in the movie, and it's funny every time. He is so good at playing that. And I think one of the reasons that he works so well in that, and I don't want to interrupt your stream of thought about things you like, but I'm curious if this means anything to you, is that the monsters, actually all the characters, except for Bud and Lou, play it straight. They'll have their humorous moments, but they're not wacky comics. The monsters play it straight. The insurance investigator really wants to get her job done. The useless lab assistant is playing it straight. Nobody's wacky except for Bud and Lou. And I think that's one of the reasons why this works.
Yeah, no, I can see that because you're putting them in a serious universe, a serious world. I also just liked, I like the Universal monsters. How can you not like them? And they all looked and felt, and I guess because this was made right after the original movies,
right,
they look and felt original. They look like they weren't messed with.
Yeah, it's such a joy for me for growing up. People in the DC area will remember that Channel 20 around here ran the monster movies, and they also ran Abbott and Costello films. So this was a rather magical union that I remember watching and loving. And for me, it was exciting as a boy, as it still is, scenes that have the three big guys in it, that has Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman all in the same scene. That's really cool. And doubly cool that the role of Dracula was invented by Bela Lugosi. The role for film, I should say. Okay. The Wolfman was invented for Lon Chaney Jr. And although Boris Karloff did not say he would play Frankenstein in this, he did like a promotional tour with the movie. So he was still in good stead with Universal. So he went around the country to promote the film, even though he wasn't playing Frankenstein in the movie. But I love the monsters.
And I love the ending with the Invisible Man, because it throws right into that hole where I didn't expect that. And it's like, of course, because the whole time I did, when they kept having all the scenes up on the water banks, I was like, is the creature from the Black Lagoon going to show up here?
Yeah,
like, is it going to build for this? And then I gave up on that and thought the movie was over. To then get the Invisible Man was fun.
That was great. And he was voiced by Vincent Price, which is an uncredited thing. And it's funny because he did go on to play the Invisible Man in one of the later films, not with Abbott and Costello, but Vincent Price, of course, he belongs in every horror movie. So yeah, I did find the ending very satisfying.
Yeah.
And the resolution with the open door of maybe they're dead, maybe they're not. I love the fact that at the very end, we get to see the guy who owns the House of Horrors come back and see that his House of Horrors creatures are alive. He says, "Where are my creatures?" And Lou says, here they come. But they don't leave any loose threads. It's actually, for an Abbott and Costello movie, I think one of their better written ones.
Yeah, I don't know any others, so I can't speak to that. But I'll tell you some of my favorite scenes, besides the end with the Invisible Man.
Right.
You just showed the table spinning, and that back and forth is a great scene.
That is so good.
The coffin at the very beginning, as he's trying to figure out, did I just see a hand? And then it progresses. It's a long scene.
Yeah.
And he goes to the crate and then comes back with more coffin play. But it's great. And when Dracula gets out of the crate and just goes and stands next to the wall, like no one knows he's there.
Well, he could conceivably be a part of the House of Horrors.
Right,
he blends
exactly.
right in.
Just stands it's great.
Yeah.
So those are my favorite scenes there. The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Did they do a sequel after that? Or was that a standalone, like just a line and move on?
The Invisible Man was the original movie with Claude Rains was like 1931.
No, but I mean Abbott and Costello.
They would go on. They would go on
with him.
They would go on to meet the Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man, but it wasn't Vincent Price in that, and I don't think it was canon with this plot. If I remember right, he was a boxer that got invisible. I could be wrong.
Okay, so it wasn't a setup for a sequel there at the end.
No. But, sequels were not a big thing then.
Right.
Ironically, I think the first direct sequel ever made in Hollywood was Frankenstein into the Bride of Frankenstein, to a point where they had to figure out, how do we make sure the monster's alive at the end of it, so we have the second film.
Yeah.
So monster films really lend themselves to sequels. This is very true.
Right.
What did you think of the sight gags when they were in the express office? And there's one where Lou rides a huge crate, like probably 12 feet tall, rides it down, and it's a practical effect. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, it reminded me of Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
It reminded me when Michael Jackson would do the tilt, and that he would do it by slipping his shoes on like a nail.
Right, exactly.
On the stage. And I was like, so they've got those shoes strapped there, and that's him goofing off that then builds the whole thing of you have to go uncrate the box because you're being careless.
Yeah, careless. And then, the luggage falling. There's so many good sight gags. I'm not a big fan of when Abbott and Costello, and occasionally this would come up, that Bud would slap Lou almost in a Three Stooges way. And I don't think that's their strength here. I think that they minimize that. They argue, and they're great at arguing.
The arguing's great.
They're just so good.
I love that the entire movie, he keeps pointing out, like, why would these girls be interested in you?
I love it.
And finally it pays off at the end of, oh, they're not. They're using them.
Exactly. They are such a good matched team in this one. And I'll have to ask, did you find the movie have any slow parts? I don't think it does.
I think it does. And
Okay.
that's one of my dislikes when we get
Okay,
to that.
then we'll get to that. Anything else you want to mention that you liked?
I think, no, like I said, I saw inspiration all over this. I like the transition of Dracula from the bat to the human, and it's
Love
like a
it.
cartoon bat that transitions, and it's just knowing the time when they're doing this, it's like, that looks great.
Yeah, and it's the fact that it's a little surreal going from animation to a real person, that makes it a little creepy too.
Well, it is. And it's been done after this way lazier and way cheaper where, oh, smoke, and then you're there.
Yeah.
Or a cut scene, and then he's there.
What about
So I loved it.
the difference between the animated bat and the practical bat that can fly with moving his wings so
Yes.
slowly?
Yes.
He's not a very good bat for flying.
Well, Lou also shows us how he moves his arms to fly as well.
Very true. Were you taken at all by the music?
Not it, the music I thought was good. It pulled in. It's not something where I would recognize it if I heard it again.
I think that it was written original for the movie, but what's wild is that later on they would reuse this score in many monster movies. And my favorite hunk of it is the Dracula music cue. Every character has a little music cue that's associated with it. And Dracula's is delete, delete. You'll hear it here.
All right, so that cues Dracula.
Yeah, that's Dracula's cue. And then there's
Okay.
one for the Wolfman and one for Frank as well. And I'll just call him Frank now.
And and that's one thing I had written down is I mentioned all the inspiration that I've seen in shows growing up. But this is basically this version's of time period decade of scary movie.
Yeah.
Where they took all these scary monster movies and let's put them all in the same universe and make fun of them.
It really was forward thinking. We've talked in the past about how each studio had sort of a reputation for what they did. Universal, like for example, Warner Brothers was gangster pictures, right? Universal was always the monster studio. And they did have Abbott and Costello, who were very profitable for them. But it's like one of the first times that a studio looks at their properties and said, what can we do with these things we already own?
Right. We have all these set pieces.
People know these guys. So
Right.
what do we do?
Can't make a romantic comedy in Dracula's castle.
No. But I do think they did a good job of putting as much monster action into it as they did without making it seem like it was forced. It was a good plot line. You know, Dracula, of course, it's not canon. Dracula doesn't want to resurrect Frankenstein anywhere else. But the fact that he wants to do that and he's pursued by the Wolfman, it makes sense to me.
It was a weak plot, but it works.
Yeah, it is. It's a very weak plot. And it really could be tightened up. There's at least two useless characters we don't need. The lab assistant is so useless. Even though he is responsible for killing Frankenstein at the end, he's pointless until that very moment. That could have been done by anybody. How did you like the practical effects of Frankenstein's death with the fire on the dock?
I mean, it was fine.
Okay.
It was fine. It was what they could do back then.
I remember as a boy thinking that's the most incredible thing. That man took a step while he's on fire. And then, you know, you get to be 8 or 9 years old and you realize they're just moving his foot. It's like a statue.
Right.
But it's still, to me, the fire and the forced perspective and the way he goes, I think it's pretty good. I like it. Anything else? Because I know we have thoughts when we return.
Yeah, let's take a break right here.
Okie doke. And we will be back and we'll discuss what might not have worked in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. All right, we're back at Hicks, Nicks, Sticks, Picks. This is episode number 6, I think. And thank you all for coming along for the ride. We're talking about Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein. Here's your visual aid right there. Do I have that on a T-shirt? I do. I didn't wear it today.
Of
Thought it would
course
be
you
a bit much. I thought it would be like wearing the concert, the band T-shirt to the concert.
You know,
don't
I
wanna
was
overdo it.
thinking during that long break.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how this was universal, using this, like, we've got all these set pieces, we've got these characters.
Yeah.
Now we just need to put them in a movie together. And I think about the middle school camp I work at every summer.
Okay.
Where part of that is, hey, we've got a skit and we need to make the skit work throughout the week. And it's always the same formula. It's introduce the good guys, introduce the bad guys, chase each other around for 3 days. Funny things happen on the video, and then the bad guys lose. And it's like, that's really what this is.
That's all it is.
And
it's formula. It's all.
And what I do at the camp is like, all right, well, I know I've got these rooms up here and this here, and it's the same set every day, every year.
Right.
And it's rethinking how to use that set to tell a different story. And that's what they're doing here with,
Exactly.
we have all these pieces.
Like Coke. I mean, it's a good product. It's a good formula, and they can go after every Western up until like 1960 was almost exactly the same, and they were all successful. And these movies, and this really not only was a formula when it was made, it created its own formula of taking something mythical or something famous and having Abbott and Costello interact with them without it getting in the way of their routines. Now, you mentioned about Ghostbusters, but this is, film historians agree, the first successful and actually the first time horror and comedy were put together in one package.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been scary moments or, mythical monsters in comedy movies, but they play the scary scenes in this for all the scares.
And like I said, it reminds me a lot also of Scooby-Doo. This is Shaggy and Scooby running around.
That is really dead on. It really is. And the other people in the, what are they, Mystery Incorporated, they're, a little more sensible, but all the action happens with Scooby and Shaggy. But if you're watching Ghostbusters or, as you mentioned, but Beetlejuice or American Psycho, maybe not those movies, if not for this one, because they really did play the horror straight. And this is the first time for Bud and Lou to do that too, because up to now they were mostly what they would call service comedies. They were in the Army, they were in the Navy, they were in the Air Force, and then the war was over and they had to figure out what direction to go. And this was a really, really smart step for them. Okay, what did you hate?
I thought it was a little slow paced at some point.
Okay.
And I think it was more of, and I don't think it's a problem with the movie. I think it's a problem with me.
Okay.
And I think it's a problem with 2025 and trying to sit down and focus on something and without all the distractions where we're used to it being bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, it's certainly not. It's not a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the coffin scene. There was a great scene, but in a 2025 movie, you'll get the hand and then he's out.
Yeah,
it's so slow played that it makes it a little slow compared to modern movies.
It would be a 90-second scene as opposed to like a 7-minute scene. And when your movie's not even 90 minutes, think about devoting 7 of them to one scene. That's a lot. But they do it's so well structured for laughs because he gets scared once, chick calms him down, gets scared again, chick calms him down, gets hexed by Dracula. And so, I mean, it's not wasted, but I can understand that you just want a little more in that time space or the same amount in less time.
Yeah, and that's just a difference in the older style movies. We saw the same thing with Yankee Doodle. And
you're right.
Also, it's just a weak plot.
It's a really
weak plot. So there's nothing to be like, I wonder what's going to happen.
Well, I know, but also, I mean, if you go back to the original movies, those plots are not sensational.
I don't think none of those monster movies
I mean, the guy builds a corpse body. He runs around, he gets in trouble, they kill him. Dracula comes over from Transylvania. He bites a few people, they kill him.
I think that's also why we haven't seen them come back as modern movies.
I think you're right.
The properties, you mentioned they're running out, but what do you do with these guys?
Well, a new Frankenstein just came out, right? With Jacob Elordi, who's in everything.
Is there?
And it's got a big star at the front of it as well. But they keep trying. And Dracula keeps rearing his head. There was a movie some years ago called Van Helsing that I enjoyed.
But that's like a superhero thing. I don't think of that as...
It's not a classic gothic horror film.
Movie. No, I think of where they're making their money on these characters now is a franchise like Transylvania. The kids' cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Or... we've mentioned it on the Mike O'Mara show. By the way, Sticks,
Frankenstein looks horrible.
Oh, it does look horrible. Who's the star in it?
Still pictures. Jacob Elordi.
And then there's another big star.
Mia Goth. Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Plays Dr. Frankenstein.
They've got all the people, but it doesn't look right.
And it's Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. I don't like the way they made the monster look. I'm sorry, but I have to subscribe back to the Frankenstein, this guy. I want to see the flat head. I want to see the electrodes in his neck. I want to see that.
This movie comes out tomorrow.
Oh, I knew it. Well, I knew it was being promoted. I didn't know if it was out yet or not.
It's on select theaters October 17th and Netflix November 7th. If you give me a date that a movie's coming on Netflix, I'm not going to go to the theater.
Tell me about it. And also, it's so clearly, well, we want to be in theaters so we can
awards.
We can get the awards, and then everyone will see it there.
Or
I'll watch it.
Or a promise to cast someone. Well, this will be in theaters.
I'll watch it, but I promise you I won't like it. I like the way that the old movies look in that gothic way. And this movie was 1948, I think. And that's almost even too late for a classic monster movie, although they still had all the ingredients in place. I love that. This is a great gateway movie for Abbott and Costello and the Universal Monsters. If you grew up just watching, and age appropriate for you and me, Josh, would be like a Scream, Friday the 13th, more slasher type movies.
Never saw that.
But if you, I'm just saying.
Yes, but Scream, I follow you.
Time speaking. But if you want to know what the sort of classic horror movie of the 30s looked like, this is a great and easy way to sample it. You get to see all the monsters, and it's not investing an entire, because those older movies really can be slow.
You get to see them all.
Yeah. And also Abbott and Costello, you get to see their...
Because even though most people, I haven't seen the original monster movies, but I know all these characters.
Exactly.
And everyone does. And Universal still drags them out every year for their Halloween
they just
at Universal Studios.
They built a new park.
That's right. They've got a new monster land.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're still happening. They're still making their money. Were you marveling at all? I mean, I know we talk for a living and we talk fast and we say a lot of stuff. The speed of the dialogue between Bud and Lou, or I'm sorry, Chick and Wilbur, is so fast.
Oh, it's great. And it's back and forth and it's good. I think I was not stunned by it because I know the Who's on First routine so well that I know how well they play off each other.
When I watch it and they'll take pauses, there's one particular scene where they're sitting in a living room and they're realizing that they're in a lot of trouble and there's silence. And then Wilbur stands up and just screams. And Bud says, why did you scream? He says, that was me. It's a great, that joke to me is sort of ahead of its time because it's sort of a non sequitur within a horror movie.
Yes.
But their timing, they knew each other so well because they did vaudeville, they did radio, they ended up on television. So they truly, truly knew each other, but the timing is amazing. Also, Lou Costello, and when he breaks the fourth wall, we saw some of it in Duck Soup. We saw it in the clip where he pulls the tablecloth out and he looks and he shrugs. And then there's another one where he says, See,
now, was that breaking the fourth wall? I thought that shrug was towards the monster, like, look what I did.
No, the shrug was for the audience.
Okay.
Absolutely. And when he meets the insurance investigator, he says, oh yeah, she's Joan Raymond. He doesn't know who she is. And he looks at the camera and he shrugs again. Okay. And it's just like letting us in on it, not like a soliloquy to the camera, but I like that sort of that in stuff. This was Bela Lugosi's last big studio picture and only the second time he played Dracula. And he would eventually, die penniless, drug-addled, and under the control of Ed Wood, worst director ever. But I think he's really well used in this, and he might be better as Dracula in this movie than the original Dracula, because he's more part of the plot and less like an interloper coming in.
Yeah, he doesn't have to carry it.
Yeah. And I was shocked to find out he's taller by an inch than the guy who played Frankenstein. Bela Lugosi was a tall guy, so that surprised me. But I thought he was used very well. When I watched Lou Costello, I might be off on this, but I see a lot of Nathan Lane coming from him.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, beyond the physical similarity, which there is.
The voice and the pitch.
Yeah, and the screaming and
yes.
the takes and everything. And that's stuff that works to this day. I really liked that. The plots are well resolved, as I said. I loved the music cues. And also, I don't know if you're aware of this, Lon Chaney Jr., who played the Wolfman, is a Nepo baby. His father, Lon Chaney, was the original Phantom of the Opera and the Man of 1,000 Faces, one of the founding fathers of Hollywood. And if you see many of Lon Chaney's films, he's pretty good in this. But if you see most of his films, he's horrible. Maybe the worst actor ever.
I did not have a problem with him in this.
Yeah, he's good in this. He's okay in this. But I know that he originally got the role because of his dad. And then, go ahead.
Well, speaking of Wolfman, one of the issues I had with this, I only have 2 more issues written down. But one is the mask, the Wolfman mask. That looks nothing like the actual Wolfman.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that as a point. Like, okay, so you want them to think that chick was out there biting people with this mask.
Oh,
and it's like, that was
at the costume party. It was that double, that sort of a
and then they bring
misunderstanding.
It back out in the woods.
Yeah, it's not great. That's another weak plot point.
Yeah.
But handled better might have been better, but it was handled badly because the mask did not look like the Wolfman at all. You're right.
Right. And then final problem, and I know it's 1940, so maybe this was the best they could do.
Right.
Final scene in the rowboat.
Yes.
The boat is never moving. The boat doesn't bob in the water. It doesn't do anything. It is planted there.
But it's also tied up.
It's tied up. It's planted. It's not bobbing in the water, and he is sitting there with the paddles
and going
he is
crazy,
splashing around, and nothing's moving.
Yeah, it's probably because that's Lake Universal and it's about 8 inches deep. That's probably the reason.
Right.
But one last thing that I'll throw in that I love is this is not the greatest for it, but I love seeing Frankenstein laboratory equipment with sparks and spinning things and tubes of fluids.
Yes.
It's a great laboratory.
Yes. I don't like the little ring that Dracula uses to like bring Frankenstein up.
Yeah.
But I like the lab equipment.
The lab is great.
And I don't like the guy that answers the door. Like the lab assistant that doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, he's useless. I didn't even write his character name down in the synopsis.
He answers the door and it's like, all right, so he's that butler or something, but he doesn't know who's in the house.
Yeah, well, he's dumb. I mean, if he hasn't figured out that all that electrical equipment is to bring the monster back to life, and if he hasn't figured out that Dr. Lejos is Dracula, he just
wants to go to the party.
The masquerade party.
Right.
And again, I have to mention, Dracula went as Dracula, which is funny.
Yes.
Perhaps you mean my costume. The guy that made the original Frankenstein equipment, he was a prop guy at Universal at the time. His name was Kenneth Strickfaden. And he built things, basically the original stuff like the Jacob's Ladder and the spinning with the sparks. That was stuff he just had in his shop. He built this. They're not meant to convey that they do anything. He just made stuff that would be noisy and sparkly. When Mel Brooks made Young Frankenstein in the early 70s, Kenneth Strickfaden was alive. And Mel Brooks called him and said, "Do you still have the equipment from Bride of Frankenstein?" He says, "I think it's in my garage." And it was in his garage. Mel Brooks borrowed it. And so the lab equipment in Young Frankenstein is actually original Frankenstein.
That's great. That's back when people didn't care about props.
Exactly.
Where it was just like, oh yeah, let me just throw it in here.
I'm surprised he still had it.
Well, he had it because that was a prop guy. And you never know when I'm going to need another spinning thing to break off of this and put in something else.
But I just found that fascinating. It's a really good looking movie. It looks more expensive than it is. I think it is a top tier Abbott and Costello movie. How many Frankenstein neck bolts do you give it out of a possible 10, 10 being the best?
I'm going to give it a 5.
Oh, I was hoping for more.
I know. It's low. I know that's lower than you want, but it's a weak plot. It's fun to see all the monsters. It's too long for the plot.
Yeah. And it's a short film.
Yeah. And it's a short film. And then finally, but it's a 5, and I could even push it to a 6, but I'm going to stay at a 5.
All right.
Because of how much it inspired everything else.
Yeah, it's an important
everything
film.
else is better.
Would you ever show it to your kids? My son loved this movie growing up.
My kids would not be able to sit through this.
Really? Even with all the...
I think my attention span's not there. Kids today with their YouTube shorts, it's like, no way.
Yeah, but do they watch it? Do they watch the K-pop movie? Is there any movie they can watch that they have the
the
patience
only way
for?
I can get them to watch a movie is if I take them to the theater.
That's a shame because Robert loved this movie, watched it almost on loop for a while, even got to a point where he didn't call the Wolfman, he called him Talbot. He would say, Dad, do you want to watch Talbot?
Well, he is referred to more as Talbot in the movie.
I love it. I do love it. But yeah, I'll give it an 8. I love it. And it's probably a little extra point from me because I grew up loving it.
Yeah,
and I know what to expect. And it's comfortable for me. I mean, I know the movie backwards and forwards, but it just, every time I'm very, very pleased with it. So anyway,
I totally understand your 8. And just like every movie on here, even if it's not for me, every movie we cover on here, I recommend people check out because there are older movies that was built upon the rest of Hollywood.
Now, I got to ask, you said, and not throwing you under the bus here, that before we did this episode, you said this is the first movie that feels like homework.
Yes.
Explain yourself.
Oh, well, it's not because of the movie.
Okay.
I think it's just because the way my week has gone, it's been very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not not a single movie we watched so far has been one that I can sit down and be like, anyone from the family want to watch this with me? So I have to find time to watch it. So normally I can get it in. I can always find a way to get it in.
Right.
But this was the one that it felt like I was running out of time. So I watched it this morning.
Okay. Well, it all works. You were out of town for a little bit of it.
Yeah. It was not that it's not like homework. Like I did not want to watch this movie. It was homework. Like it was a busy week.
My initial thought was, oh my God, we're 6 episodes in. This thing isn't going away.
No.
We need to keep doing it.
I love this show. I love getting to watch all these old movies I've never seen before.
Yeah, I love doing it with you, and I love that. Did I mention already we're a service of the Mike O'Mara Show? I think we did. But it's fun for you and I to go deep into a topic that, and I don't mean it in a bad way, Mike wouldn't have the patience for. It's just not his scene. I love this stuff so bad, and I love talking with you about it.
I'm seeing great feedback from our listeners, which is wonderful. Keep going over and writing reviews on iTunes and share this podcast because I'm hoping we pick up some people who the Mike O'Mara Show is not for them, but this is.
And you know what I always say? Like on that smash button.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Would you like me to reveal what we will be talking about in episode 7?
I can't wait because I don't know if people realize this isn't theater. You don't give me a heads up.
I find
out right here.
I love it.
And then I'm always wondering, is it one that I've never seen before? And the chances are pretty good that I've never seen it. I can
guess that you've never seen this one in the middle of spooky season. It is spooky. Let's see what
do we
have.
It's got to be in color. Can't do 2 black and whites in a row.
It is in color.
That's my rule.
Okay. I believe I actually noted that on the sheet. All right. The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Walt Disney, 1949, color, animated, 68 minutes.
You got me speechless. This is a Halloween movie?
Yes, of course. Well, Ichabod is the legend of Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman. Okay. And it is so well. Right. I don't want to spoil it. It's one of my favorites.
It's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Okay.
Is that the same based on this?
It is. And this was released, I forget, they had a name for them at the Disney Corporation where they would...
The Disney Vault.
No, it's not the Disney Vault.
That's all I remember about Disney. My movies would disappear.
They go away. No, they would, especially around World War II, they didn't have the money to finance full-length movies like Snow White or Fantasia, so they'd make shorter films that are about maybe 25, 28 minutes long, and then pair them together with some sort of brief narrative that would stitch them together. So what you're going to get here is it's going to open with the story of Mr. Toad, and you'll recognize much of the imagery from the ride, I'm sure, and that's okay. But the second one is Ichabod Crane and the story of Sleepy Hollow, the legend of Sleepy Hollow, narrated by Bing Crosby. The music is great. The animation is comical at times and sometimes genuinely horrifying. I think this actually owes a bit to Abbott and Costello because it mixes scary and funny.
I am shocked that you found a Disney cartoon that I've never seen.
You're going to love this. I've watched this every year with my kids.
Well,
every
I've
year.
just checked. It's on Disney Plus.
Yes, of course.
An hour and 9 minutes. So everyone can check this out. There's no excuse to not watch this one.
And if you really want to just cheat, you can skip past Mr. Toad, the first part of it. Ichabod is really what we're about, but I think you should watch it.
We're gonna watch
Mr.
the whole
Toad.
thing.
Did you ever see Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite as a child.
Okay, I loved it too. Do you remember the weasels that are bad guys?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know until I was much older that the weasels actually are a character, or their group is a character in The Adventures of Mr. Toad.
Oh, I didn't know where they came from.
Yeah, but you will get to see all the weasels in this show.
Oh, I like that.
So
Well, you sold
again,
me.
yeah, make sure that when you watch it, there are versions that are just Ichabod. You want the full version, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, as we continue our beautiful spooky season. Josh, I call this a success.
I love it.
And
Every week.
I love that we're going to be watching a cartoon this week.
Yes. Yeah. You completely got me by picking a cartoon that didn't sound like a Halloween movie, and that it's an old Disney movie.
You're going to love it. It's so much fun. And again, I hope that, I'm sure if it's Disney Plus, they'll have a beautiful print of it, because it is really a good looking film. The voices are great. You're going to love it. Thank you, folks, for joining us today on Hicks, Nicks, Sticks, Picks. Almost made it. And we'll be back next week with Ichabod and Mr. Toad and the final movie of spooky season. I got to do that. Hold on. The final movie of spooky season will be revealed next week. But as Josh said, please use your streaming services and watch Ichabod and Mr. Toad, because you're going to like it.
And go over and like the YouTube channel. And
Yeah.
share the YouTube channel.
Please.
We're going to set a number. And when we get a certain number of followers on the YouTube page, we can do a watch along.
Oh,
But
I can't wait.
We'll come up with a number maybe next week.
And it won't be something hard to find. Will be something you can stream. It won't be from my video wall. I promise. The watch along will be easy, and a few soul gummies, and we'll be off to the races. Josh, thank you for another great week.
I can't wait.
All right, folks, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Hicks, Nicks, Sticks, Picks. I ran out of music. Oh, and here's the closing.
Hicks, Nicks, Sticks, Picks, a podcast about Rob's movies with Rob Spewak and Josh Sroka.